Hello lovely stitchy friends, I'm Kat and I'm delighted to welcome you to my channel Catkin and Lily, where we talk all things cross stitch. And today, not just talking cross stitch, I'm going to be stitching cross stitch because it's a Stitch With Me video, and as you can see I've brought Chromatic Dragon because I know a few of you have been super keen to see how I stitch this, so I thought we'd get it out. We'll put in a few stitches. It might only be a few stitches because obviously progress not always super fast on this one. But let me start off by telling you a little bit about the project, and very quickly because I think then we just really want to get into some stitching. So I've got my tablet here as well. If this doesn't look super good, I'm just going to pop a picture in for you, which will probably be easier. But this is Chromatic Dragon. This is the large version. So it is 384, guess who didn't put their phone on silent? It's 384 by 545 stitches. So it's big, but there are much bigger ones out there. I'm going to put my phone on silent. You'd think I'd know better than that by now, really, wouldn't you? But no. So what I've got here, this is, you can see what I've stitched here already. You can see it's quite hard to get it all into the frame here, but you can see I've just reached across here and I think I'm just over halfway over here. So you can see how much I've done and how much there still is to go. Although this is currently at, I believe, just coming up on 26%. So I'm actually making pretty good progress with it. Now I've got it rolled up. I'm going to roll that back again because I'm going to work over on this side and all the way down here. This is the bit that I'm going to work on. I had been working over just over here and in all of this bit. This is very, very confetti heavy. So just to save ourselves an absolute load of confetti nonsense, I'm going to come over here and work down on this side where there's confetti, but it isn't quite as bad. And in fact, I think we're actually going to start, I've got an isolated stitch to fill in. So that's going to be where we start with this. So I think we'll make a start and I will zoom in a little bit so that you can see it. I'm not going to zoom in too much because, as you can see, I'm stitching in hand. And that means I'm going to be flipping this over. And if I zoom in too much, I'm basically just going to be whacking you in the face practically with this every time I'm flipping it. So we'll zoom in a little bit, but not too much. So let's get the tablet set up as well. If I can, let's get into the actual pattern and see what I'm stitching. And let's see. I'm going to try for a little bit more. If this is too much, okay, let's give it a go there. And I can always zoom a little bit more in or out as we go. So as I say, I have got my tablet. I am stitching this. I will just show you because you're not going to be able to see anything very much on here, to be honest. Not going to see anything that you shouldn't really. So I have got this on Pattern Keeper so that I can, if I go here, I can highlight. I'm going to do, there's one little stitch just here. Oh, I've just unhighlighted it with my finger. One little stitch here. So I am going to start with that one. So let's find the colour. Or I guess it means I'm going to have to talk about my thread management as well here. So this is half the threads. I've got another one of these. I've got my threads off to the side of me. So this is all the threads. I'm trying to remember now. I think there's 90 colours in this. So I've got them on here and I have them all on these floss drops and they are in number order. Because that's just the easiest way to do it on here. Trying to find the threads, having them in number order. So I need 372, which, yeah, I can already tell is this green. So I normally have my threads, I have got them here, you can see I've got them cut to 1 metre length, which is what I'd usually stitch with. But I'm only using one strand for this. So I've got some of those metre ones. I usually take a piece off and cut it. So this bit here, this is a half length. So this is 50 centimetres. And I've actually got a little bit on the side here as well. I often keep my working thread on the other side of the floss drop, put it over here. But for the dragon, because I'm only ever, I will go back and use these small pieces, I keep them on this side as well. So take that little piece and let's do an isolated stitch. Now, whilst doing an isolated stitch is sometimes annoying, filling in those little gaps is so satisfying. And this one is stuck. Actually, I'm going to look because I've said I've got a gap. Oh yeah, I have. I was looking at it thinking maybe I don't even have a gap here, but I do. I do. The gap is here. Yeah. So what I'll do, I'm going to push my thread in, put my needle into the gap where that hole, where the stitch is that I need to fill it in, turn it over. I'm going to put my nail on there, and then I know that that's where I need my thread to be. So then I'll run that under, and I pull my thread to till you basically can't see anything. It kind of runs under, normally I say about 3 stitches. To be honest, it might be even 4 or 5. It's sort of about maybe 4 or 5 millimeters that I've run under. So then I can turn back over, find that single stitch. Obviously I'm then going to turn this back over again and make sure that I'm not going to pull my thread through. And then finally I can actually make that one little stitch. And there he is. I don't even know how well you can see it on here. That's that one little stitch. And then again, I'm just going to run it under a few stitches on the back and snip that off really quite close. So I really don't want to be leaving too many ends on the back of here. And then because I've only done one stitch, I've got plenty left of that. So it's going to go back on my floss drop, and I'll save that for when I need to do some more. So I'll mark that stitch off, and once I've marked that off, I'm going to have a look for the next bit that I want to stitch, and there's only a few of those. Right, there's only a few of these again as well, but we've kind of got to do these and fill them in. So this is 437. Oh, and I have got, although I go by numbers, I have got the symbol on the back of each of the floss drops as well, just as a double check. I usually pick the number out that I need, and then as I'm putting it back, I usually double check that I have got the correct symbol as well. Now, this one actually, again, you can see I've got 1 meter lengths on here. I've got these shorter 50 centimeter lengths on here. And I don't do this for any other projects really, but on these ones, I don't know if this is going to focus on here, I will try and get one strand, pull it with my needle, and then I will pull the whole of that strand. It does bunch up. At that point, I'll usually give it a little unping and pull that strand out. Because for these projects, for that length, it does come out fairly easily, and the thread that I pull out doesn't get too tangly. So it does save a little bit of time. I don't like to do it with 1 meter lengths because it bunches up like crazy. And the thread will get really, really twisty and curly. So I don't really like to do that. So we've got just a couple more stitches to do this time round. And we're going to be, and that's another nice little fill-in bit. I'm going to fill in on here. So again, I'm going to work out where I need my thread to be. Just run through a few. sure I'm not pulling that through. So I did give it quite a lot of thought about the counter fabric and the number of strands to use for this. And one strand has exactly the disadvantage that you've just seen, which is that you have to find a way to secure it. You can't ever do a loop start, so every time, even for one stitch, you've got to secure that thread and then run it in again at the end. Now, there are actually other ways to secure one thread. There are pin stitch variants and such, which I've tried a little bit, and I have not found one that I felt was actually super secure. So I kind of just stay old school with it and just run my threads in at the back. But I do find that one strand on here, this is 25 count. One strand on 25 count it's quite a nice coverage for me. I tested out 2 strands, not on this project, actually on the previous project. I tested 2 strands and it's fine for a couple of stitches, and then you realise that actually it's quite bulky, and stitching an entire project like that would get really frustrating. So I've settled on one strand on the 25 count, and I do prefer full crosses, because the other option would be using 2 strands and doing a 10th stitch, so basically a half cross stitch. But I just like a full cross. There's something about that. I mean, it's quicker if you do a 10th stitch. You could do 2 strands. You've only got to do half the stitch. Yeah, there's a lot to love about that. I just don't like the way it looks. For me, I kind of just want to see that full cross. As I'm wandering down a little bit, let me try and keep this a bit more in the middle for you. So yeah, full cross for me. One strand on 25 count. I would try alternatives. I'm not saying I'm wedded to this forever. This is only my second full coverage that I've stitched, and I've done both of them the same count and one strand. As I say, you never know, I might change my mind one day, do something different. Okay, let's pop that under a few stitches. There we go. So you can see the back of here. Let me pull this out a little bit more so you can see some of the back. You can see what it looks like. It's actually quite cool looking. But because of all that running threads back and forth, you're going to get this sort of effect. There's no getting away from that. My main concern is to try and keep it relatively flat. So it doesn't really, I don't mind too much having all of this on here, but it's quite flat. There's no kind of areas where it's like really crazy bumpy compared to the rest. That's kind of really all I'm going for. Okay, so that's another few stitches done. I'm going to mark those off. So I'm just marking those there, and we can tick that. Right, I have got these little fill-in ones to do over here, but they're going to be slightly annoying. I think we're going to go for, I want to do something that's a few more stitches than that. Just thinking about it. How about, and this is how I kind of decide. I'll have a little look. I will zip about and highlight. So I'll think, oh, I could do that one. That's only a few. I like when I'm going into a new area to pick a symbol. Yeah, not that one. Yeah, I like that one. I've got enough stitches to do there that's going to keep me going for a little bit. And then I can come and fill in the ones where there's less stitches. So let's go with that colour. Whatever that might be. Oh, I just nearly lost my thing. Yep. Right. Now I'm just having a scroll to see what the colour is. It is. Right, this is on the other ring. So this is the other half of the colours. And I'm looking for 3722. You do start to know kind of what the colours are. I've got this pink colour. Oh, and I think we need a new piece again off of here. So again, I'm just going to get in there, pick one strand with my needle and just tease that out. There we go, that one's come out nicely all on its own. And you just straighten that one back out again. And let's double check. Yep, that's definitely N is the symbol we're after. So we've got a few more stitches. So again on this one, I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit more on here, so I can actually see what I'm doing now. This is always the first bit, find the start point. There. That's my start point. So pull that one in, so the tail's almost gone. And then, yeah. Oh no. Oh, right. This is my absolute nemesis, when it makes a little knot in the thread before I've even got started. Oh, managed to pull it out. That's so frustrating. So as I mentioned, this is my second full coverage. The first one, if you're interested, I will link the video if you haven't seen it already, because I made a video all about that. There's a very cool time lapse in there. So that was one charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, and it was an Amy Stewart. It's called Amazing Animal Kingdom. And I'm sure some of you will already know that one, or at least know Amy Stewart's artwork. It's absolutely incredible. It's finished. It took me about 4 years to do. It's framed, it's hung up in my lounge. Absolutely love it. This was the second one I picked, and this is only about half the size. But I'm stitching it much, much slower. I have got a lot of other things that I'm stitching at the moment, and yeah, it's going quite slowly. So I think this one might actually take me 4 years, despite being half the size. But it's a lovely project to work on. I mentioned right back at the start that this is the large version. So there is a smaller one, which obviously has a lot less stitches in it. And I just decided for this one that I wanted the extra stitches. I knew I could cope with the large size, as I say, it being smaller than the previous one I'd stitched. So I knew I was okay with that. And I did just think the extra detail would be really nice. And you can see, I mean, you can see the detail in here. It's absolutely incredible. So far, I'm really happy that I went for the large size. And I'm wondering when oh wait, do you know what? It's actually just coming up on a year since I started this, I believe. Actually, just over. I think I started it towards the end of September 2023. So yes, that would, if I'm just on, actually, let's do a check. I am on 25.9%. So yeah, I am coming up on 26% in a year. So yeah, 4 years, pretty good estimate. And when I started, I thought maybe a couple of years, but I've gone quite slow with it. I may have got a bit carried away with other whips. So at the moment, I really only pull this one out and work on it for about 1 day a week. Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it only gets 300 or 400 stitches on that day if I'm busy doing other things. But equally, I've had the odd one where I'll maybe do 700 or 800 stitches. That's been quite rare recently, to be honest. And of course, I'm sure by now you'll see that I'm really not having any problems stitching this in hand. I think this is the thing that people find slightly incredible, that a lot of you know I stitch in hand, but to stitch something this big, do you know what? It's actually almost easier when it's this big. Because it just sort of, I don't know, it finds its own way to sit on my lap. It is why I sit. You'll see I'm sat, if I move that, I'm sat with, this is my legs out in front of me. I've got them, I've got my legs out up in front of me so that I can basically rest the fabric on my legs. And there's a hair on there. It's not stitched that into my work. I was just inspecting that hair. I thought it might have been I won't say a grey hair. I call them sparkly hairs. I do have a few. I quite like them actually. Oh no, just catching. I hate that when you catch that thread at the back with your hand. There we go. It's okay. So yeah, I sort of rest the fabric, and then I'm kind of just I just use this hand behind here just to kind of rest the fabric on here. I've got this side rolled up, and as I work further this way I will roll this more and more so that I can get over to the other side. And I find like that I don't really miss the hoop. I'm not holding the fabric tightly at all. I mean, I'm barely holding it. I'm just sort of, it's very roughly just in place. And that means I can just kind of keep that tension. I just, as I'm pulling the thread through in either direction, just pulling it until the thread is through. Once you can feel that the thread has pulled all the way through and it's not too loose, yeah, it just seems to work for me. It does mean the fabric can get a little bit dirty, I will say. I did find when I washed my my first piece, yeah, definitely had slightly dirty water. Okay, pretty dirty water. But it came out beautifully. It just needed a few rinses. And it was absolutely fine. Right. Just checking where I'm going with this now. Let's skip one. So we're getting all the way down into new territory all the way down here. I think I worked out I'm actually over halfway down this left-hand side as well. Where's halfway? Oh, halfway is about there. That's about halfway, so literally just over halfway down this side. And it is nice to kind of move around this pattern and stitch different bits, because this bit here, you can sort of see there are some sort of swathes of stitches. So there are bits, even like this colour I'm doing now, I've been able to stitch a fair number of stitches with this colour before I've got to switch. As I say, there are areas where it's very, very confetti heavy. I feel like there's a mistake here. What have I done? Oh, I think I've accidentally done... I have... No. I have. This is... Oh dear. Right. We might have a pause while I fix this. And we're back. This... Well, I was going to blame the talking and stitching, but it isn't. It's what happens when I try and stitch too many stitches without marking it off on my pattern. And then I accidentally miss what I have or haven't done. So there's the lesson. Keep your pattern marked off. I mean, the talking might not have helped either, but I'm usually pretty good at talking and stitching. I am paranoid now. No, I'm pretty sure that's wrong. 1, 2, 3. There we go. I'm going to be paranoid for the rest of the video now. So now I'm going to have a decision at some point whether I kind of keep going with this all the way down here or whether I'm going to just end the thread. Because you can see from the way I've stitched, and I've talked about this a little bit before, that I generally prefer to stitch and not really leave gaps. It's a bit tricky with this one because with all the confetti you can't possibly stitch it all absolutely in order, but you can see I'm generally working my way outwards. I kind of work across and down, so I'm sort of working this bit. It's sort of across and down. But you'll see I don't really have, I have like a few bits where I'm sort of, you know, at the edges, but I haven't got bits that are all the way down here, kind of cross country. It's just not my style. I don't think I trust myself with the counting, to be honest. But equally, when you're one strand and you've then got to anchor the threads, then it can get really annoying. So I think I like to keep my stitching kind of in the area that I'm in. I heard it described, it's not cross country, it's a short road trip. So it's only so far I'll go, kind of away from my main body of stitching before I decide to finish the thread. Now I am going to go quite far, knotty knot, that's better. Now that has pulled my stitch undone. That little knot, it's just ended up slipping, so I'm actually just going to go and re-stitch. You won't even notice. I'm just going to stitch back over the top of that one. So the threads just slipped underneath. They do sometimes. The embroidery thread slipped under the thread of the fabric. It doesn't actually happen all that often, but if it does, I just stitch right back over the top of it and it's good as new. I feel like this colour is just a bit of a knotty colour. Some of the reds are like that. It might just be, even though I've got one strand, you can actually, it is a little bit twisty. So I can actually untwist it even with one strand. And the way I do that is put my needle all the way down to the fabric and then just run that thread through my fingers, and it might be a little bit better. Now this is getting quite far away from where I've stitched. Let's mark those off so that I don't get confused. And let me see how far. Okay, I've only got 3 more stitches below here. I think we'll take that. It will be just about okay. I certainly wouldn't end my thread here if I've only got 3 more stitches to go. I mean, that's the balance really, isn't it? Is, do you want to keep stopping and starting all the time? Well, ideally, no, you don't. But equally, I don't want to stitch too far away from the main body of my stitching. So that's where it comes down to for me is, and this is getting about as far down as I really want to go away from that. And I'm going to have fun because I'm so far down running it in at the back. So I think what we'll do, I just kind of look on the back where I've got this, and it doesn't have to be, I'm going to try and, you don't have to go in a straight line. You don't have to go, you know, through the stitches that way. You can kind of just go up. I'm just going to go through a couple of threads. Let's go through a couple like this. Kind of on the diagonal. So if you can see, I've just sort of gone through the back of some threads. And if I might just go a little bit further than I normally would, but that's perfectly well secured now. And I've just sort of shoved the needle up through somewhere that it will go. And by the time I get in and do a whole load more stitching, that'll keep it all together anyway. So let's have a little look where we're at. That's my final 3 stitches. Right, let's come back and see which symbol we fancy next. Let's have a look. That one could do, yeah, there's not very many of that one. Oh, that looks like quite a good one. Let's do that one. I've got a few up here and it's kind of going down that way. I'm going to just make sure, yeah, I like to sort of zoom in, get an idea of where it is I'm stitching. And then, yeah, I can see all of those there that I want to do. And I'm going to show you on this side. I'm going to scroll, right down the bottom, 3857. So, the rattly ring back out. 3857 is this dark colour. Now I've got a little tiny piece on here. So obviously I've used a bit and I've got this bit. Surprisingly, that's actually probably enough. If I thought it wasn't enough to do all those stitches, I might well pick a full piece out. But you'd be surprised, I actually think this will be long enough. So we'll give it a go. There's enough stop-starting on this that it's really quite annoying if you pick a bit and you can't get everything, all the stitches done with it that you wanted to. That would be quite frustrating. So I'm looking to start here. There you go. Now I'm filming this knowing that you won't be watching this for, gosh, well over a week, maybe a couple of weeks away actually. I think a couple of weeks, because I'm going to Iceland. So as you watch this, I'm having, hopefully, a lovely time in Iceland. Oh, hold that thought, because I want to show you this. So I've just done a stitch that's here. Now my next stitch, if I put my needle up, can you see, is here. So it's from here to here. That's probably not too far for me to go on the back. It's got to go from there to there. But I really don't like to go too far without actually catching it down. So I might just flip it over, put the needle under a thread on the back, and then come back to the front and carry on with that stitch. It is one thing that, unless I'm feeling really lazy, and honestly I do have those moments, because I think we all do, there's moments when you're just like, no, I'm just taking my thread, I am not catching that down, I cannot be bothered. But most of the time I do, because I know I'll regret it. So similarly here, I'm going to go just catch it down under a thread before I come back down. The downside is that you then lose where you were. Where you were actually going with that stitch. But yeah, as I say, other than when I am feeling particularly lazy, I do like to catch my threads down. I really don't like to go very far at all, because it just, this is why I think it looks a little bit tidier on the back. And now I'm coming down here, and this is a little bit more time consuming, and I could carry my thread from here to here. It wouldn't be the worst, but and this is actually, if I'm honest, another advantage of stitching in hand, because I can actually flip the work and do that really quite easily. I haven't really used, I've never stitched on like a, you know, a scroll frame or something large for something like this, and I do feel like, I don't know, you can flip them obviously to get to the back of your work, but I don't know if it's quite as easy. I certainly do feel like it is quite straightforward just to flip this over, run the needle under, make sure that I keep it all caught down on the back. It looks neater, and there's no chance that I'm accidentally going to catch those threads and pull my stitches as I'm working on the piece. So I think I would probably, it actually does vary a little bit. If I'm going to take the thread across an area where I haven't stitched yet, I'll probably carry it a lot further. In those stitches, because I've already worked the area where I'm taking the thread, it's easier to catch it down, and if I don't, it's not going to get caught down at any point in the future. Whereas if I were to take my thread across an area that's currently blank, well, that's going to get caught down anyway. So yeah, I would definitely be more likely, we might get a situation with that in a bit, but if it's across a blank area like this, I'll probably carry it a lot further. And obviously if I'm skipping just, you know, really, really tiny, only, you know, a few stitches, then yeah, again, no need to catch that down. It's all a balance of how much work you want to make for yourself, really. And we are coming up on the end of that one. That is all of those stitches. So now we would find somewhere to run this. So I haven't got a very long run here to go. So I'm going to kind of run it along a few and then up through that one as well, because I don't feel like running it through two threads is very secure. And hey, we made it absolutely fine. Look, that's not even thread checking for this. That was, not that I'm saving that bit, don't get me wrong, that's too small to save. So let's mark those ones off. Now let's see, I think we might have to do this one next. There's not tons of stitches, but this seems to be the next one. So I sort of just pick, I'll look up here at whichever ones are coming up, so that it's either this one here or this one with the little wavy lines. Because I'm looking for where there's the gaps. Oh no, I'm on the wrong one. And yep, there's a few of those, but they're slightly further to that side. These ones sort of come up first. So let's go for those. I'm going to check that there's no more of those anywhere else. No, pretty much just those ones. Okay, let's see what colour we've got. 919. That will be on this ring. 919. Ooh, nice copper colour. Now let's see, we look like we've got some bits on the side here. Yeah, that'll do. And yep, that's the right symbol. Always a good double check. It would be really easy, I always think, to get the wrong colour on here, and I don't know if you'd even know. Right, now we're definitely going to have to run the thread on this one along the back. Just trying to check where we're starting. We are starting up here. Yeah. That is the trickiest bit sometimes. Like I say, I work out where I'm going and then promptly forget. So I've got just 2 stitches here, and then I've got to run my thread. This one is a no-brainer. This one is definitely running my thread. So I'll show you from here, because I've got to get from this stitch here to this one down here. So I've got to get from here to here. That one definitely. No way am I running my thread. Oh, no way am I taking my thread down there without running it in. And this one's probably... So again, I'm putting that needle in from the front so that I know where that is. Put my nail on there, and then I know I just need to go under a couple of stitches towards where my nail was, and then I'll be in the right spot. And that thread, you can see it's just caught down under a few stitches on there. And similarly, I think I'm going to have to run down again to get to here. Just run under there. Yeah, double check my placement. So, Iceland, which I mentioned and then promptly stopped talking about because, you know, stitching. But yeah, I am going to Iceland with lovely husband Dr. Tim for an entire 2 weeks. And I'm super excited. We've not been to Iceland before. And in fact, a few of you have very kindly on my videos gave me suggestions of places we might like to visit or the things that you particularly enjoyed. What I have noticed in putting together our itinerary is that there is so much to do. Goodness me. Even in a couple of weeks, we are absolutely only going to scratch the surface of it, I'm sure. So we had a company called Trailfinders, which some of you may have used. We've used them before and they were fantastic. They put the basic holiday together for us in terms of booking the flights. I'm pausing because I feel like I've done something dodgy again. I've got overly excited about Iceland and I can't see what I'm doing. Let me mark these ones off. Oh my goodness, I'm having an absolute moment now. No, I think I'm all right. I think actually I might have just missed another stitch earlier, but that's fine. I think we're okay. If not, it's going to go horribly wrong later. So yeah, we've had Trailfinders basically booked our flights, all our accommodation and the car hire. So we are then going to drive all the way around the island. Not that way around, actually, that way around. Drive the road that goes all the way around the island, stopping off at various places along the way. So they've kind of just got all of that booked for us, and a couple of day trips. And then we've booked up a few other things ourselves, and spent a lot of time just going through, just getting an idea of what we'd like to do, really. I think there's going to be a lot of waterfalls. It's going to be a lot of crazy scenery, lots of geothermal things to see, and volcanoes, and oh goodness, so much. Yeah, we're in danger of overly stuffing the holiday with too many things though, and not getting enough time to relax. So yeah, definitely need to make sure that we do, which for me will mean getting a little bit of stitching in as well. That's that one finished. So yeah, I'm currently picking out projects to take. Unsurprisingly, the one thing I don't tend to do with this particular project is to take it places with me. It's a little bit too big for that. Certainly for taking on holiday. That's not really going to happen. So I will be picking out some smaller projects to take away with me. And yeah, I'm very excited for that. And yeah, just for all the things that we will be doing while we're away. I really can't wait. It's going to be so special. Oh, and of course, the other, I was sat here thinking, there's something else. There's something else. And I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, just the big one, the Northern Lights. Ugh, can't believe I nearly forgot that one. It's actually one of the main reasons that we're going is because lovely husband Dr. Tim would really, I mean, I think everybody probably would love to see them, but he really, really has got a real hankering to see the Northern Lights. So this is why we are going, because he happily told me that this is you get a solar maximum every 10 years or so, when the chance of seeing the Northern Lights and of them being really good is at its highest. So we're at that solar maximum. So kind of best chance in a 10-year cycle is around now. The time of year to go in October, that's kind of the best. Well, anywhere between September and March, I think. So we're kind of hitting that spot. And there's a decent amount of daylight, but there's also quite a bit of the nighttime starts happening fairly early, so you've got more chance of seeing the Northern Lights. And we'll be going all around the island, and in particular into the north, where again there's a little bit more chance of seeing the Northern Lights. So, and we're there for 2 weeks. So we sort of feel like we've maximised our chances. I think we'd be crazy unlucky if we didn't see the Northern Lights while we were there. But you just can't tell, can you? I really hope I'll be able to come back with some amazing photos of all the things we've done, but also of the Northern Lights. That would just be fantastic. Eek. Oh, I thought I got a bit of a knot there, but no, it's fine. So yeah, I was doing my best to get some videos scheduled to keep you guys going until I come back from Iceland. So hopefully last week you will have seen my unboxing of the Historical Sampler Company Advent box and stitch along, which was very exciting, and hopefully I'll have got to start the stitch along whilst in Iceland, because I couldn't resist taking it with me. That is going to be one of my projects to take. It's probably a little bigger than I would normally take, but yeah, I'm too excited to start it, so that one's definitely coming with me. And then you'll have this one, and by the time you see this, I think I will be not too far off coming home. And then once I'm home, I will be almost straight back in with another Flosstube video. So yeah, you'll barely know I'm gone. You won't even miss me. And that is that one done. So you can see how in just this little bit you can see this little swathe down here building up, which is looking really nice. I'm going to run this way. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to run my thread that way, because it's going to stick out the edge of the fabric. I'm actually preferring at the moment just to kind of go in and do a bit of a diagonal. Right, that's quite a decent bit left. I've been getting rid of some of the bits of thread where there were little short bits, and also I don't want to spend ages putting the threads back on again when I could be stitching. I normally would, but just for the sake of the video, so you don't have the entire video with me just thread managing. So let's see. Mark those off. I was hoping that we were going to get into a nice swathe of colour, so that I could show you that there are actually points on here where you can get a nice swathe of colour. Oh, that's only a few stitches. Oh, how about? Now you see, I wanted to do, you can see there's these nice swathes of colour, but I can't do it because I really want to stitch all the ones to this side before I don't want to stitch, for me, I mean that one I could do, but I don't really want to stitch the ones this side before I stitch the ones on this side, which is annoying. I might stitch these ones. I reckon we could actually. Let's do this little bunch of ones up here to finish. Oh, also because that's a nice purple colour. Right, let's just go for it. Let's have a nice purple colour to finish up with. Now I might not quite finish all of these. That piece will do. Let's have that, because I suspect I won't stitch all of these. I'm going to stitch part of them. Okay, so now we're up in here. It is nice when you get whatever you consider a fun colour to stitch with. That's always nice. For me, it's always the pinks and purples. Although, actually, I do love a good aqua. There's a very, very lovely area on the dragon. I will show you momentarily when I consider that this thread's anchored well enough. There's a lovely bit over here, this bit. This was really nice to stitch because there are actually some nice swathes of colour. It was beautiful colour to stitch with. Yeah, I really enjoyed stitching that. Obviously, versus the other bit is all of this dark stitching. which is black and navy blue and little bits of green into here as well. Yeah, it's on the one hand, it's not the most fun to stitch, but on the other hand, you can get quite a lot of stitches completed. If I'm having one of those days where I feel like I just want to get some stitch numbers, maybe I'm trying to get to a particular percentage goal or some such, then having that dark stitching to kind of to do as well, yeah, you can certainly stitch, you can get your stitches in, let's put it that way. And I have got, although I've done a lot of that dark stitching up in that top corner, there's a lot over that way. There is a huge amount of dark stitching in that top left hand, no, right hand, top right hand corner. So I have been trying to kind of do a little bit down here or a little bit further over this way, just try and stitch a little bit of something colourful and then go and put in some dark stitches. And it's been a really good pattern for that. So I always say, if you're going to choose a full coverage, and in fact, I might do a video about sort of what I think about if I'm choosing a full coverage. I know I've only chosen 2. It's only my second one. But I have thoughts. And the biggest one, honestly, is just stitch something that will hold your attention, whatever that might be. And for me, if there was a lot of stitching of one colour, whatever that might be, that probably wouldn't do it for me. And especially if it was lots of dark stitching. Yeah, I think I'd really struggle with that. There were some beautiful designs out there that I couldn't stitch because it would drive me crazy and I would get very, very bored. So as you can see, I do quite like things with a good amount of colour in them. There's certainly plenty of colour in this one. It's certainly quite satisfying when you get to a block of colour. I mean, even this, there's, you know, I'm going to get a few stitches in the same colour. It's very nice when you've maybe done some bits where you have to keep pulling out threads and you've only got 1 or 2 stitches in that colour and then it's changed colour. Yeah, that can be a bit frustrating. That I didn't pick a bit that was like that today because I thought that might just be a little bit annoying to see. I mean, maybe I can come back and do another stitch with me. Like I say, I'm going to be stitching this for probably another 3 years unless I manage to up my game and go any faster at any point. So there's going to, oh, I can just feel there's a knot there. Oh, we're going to finish with a nice knot on the back. So I'm going to see if this works now. I don't know if you can see, it's made a little loop on the back. I'm going to put my needle in it and hope, there we go. Put your needle in the little loop, pull one side, if it doesn't work, pull the other one, and then pop, that's come out. Knots are never fun, but as long as they're ones like that that do just unping, it's not so bad. I'm in danger of losing the thread out of my needle there, that's better. So yes, I'm sure that if you enjoyed seeing this, I'm pretty sure Dragon can come back and keep us company for some more Stitch With Me videos. I have to admit, I really do enjoy doing these videos. They're kind of a little bit crazy to get the setup, to be able to do them, but it's so nice, isn't it? I enjoy watching Stitch with Me's because I just feel like I'm sitting there with the other person. I'm stitching away, they're stitching away. It's just lovely, isn't it? Well, I hope you feel like that as well, as I think I come towards the end of my video here. The end of my thread. And we've just got that nice little purple swathe down here. And yeah, just sort of checking my placement that this matches up with the bits on either side, and it does. So I think we're all good. So I'm going to do a diagonal run again. So I think that's it. I think that's probably me done for today, because I think we've probably filmed enough. And look at that. So yeah, we've put in this bit down here and a little bit in here. Plenty more to go. Let's mark those off, see if I've actually, I don't think I've made, I don't think I've quite made it to, what was I heading towards, 26%. I'm on 25.95%. So I probably will carry on stitching for a bit after this and see if I can get that to last 0.5%. But even 0.5% is quite a lot of stitches. So yeah. So there we go. That is the amazing Chromatic Dragon. Thank you very much for joining me for the stitch along today. I hope I'll see you back here again soon. If you're not already a subscriber, then please do make sure to subscribe, not least because I mentioned it a couple of videos ago in my last Flosstube, but I actually reached 7,000 subscribers. I'm still slightly reeling in shock from that one, but because I was going to Iceland, I haven't done a giveaway to celebrate that yet. So hop on, become a subscriber, join me in a week's time for my next Flosstube when I'll be back home, and we will do a giveaway. And on that note, I'm going to get out of your hair. I hope you've enjoyed this. Until next time, happy stitching, and bye for now.